Russell Wilson is the topic on QB1 today, and joining me for that, Cameron Ezeir. Cameron, what is going on with Russell Wilson?
That's the age-old question, isn't it? I think I need $1 million or maybe $245 million over 5 years to answer that question. I'll be honest, it's a scheme change. And Russell Wilson, throughout his entire career in Seattle, he was known for a lot of things. He was known for his ability to run the ball and for his ability to make spectacular plays with receivers downfield. Unfortunately, he's dealing with two injury-ridden receivers in Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton. So what's their flexibility? Do they have longevity for this season? How much can he pepper them with passes that Russell Wilson likes to throw at 100 miles per hour? And is he the same running quarterback? No. I mean, he's gotten older. Do I think he's old? No, but he's gotten older. So he doesn't have the ability that he once did. And it's not like Denver is revered for their masterful offensive line. Denver has been a defensive-minded team for a majority of the past decade. That's how they won the Super Bowl back in Super Bowl 50 with Peyton Manning. But then again, you look at Peyton Manning, where did he find his success? He found his success through the air. Denver is known for finding their success through the air. And if Russell Wilson can't throw accurate passes and his receivers aren't getting open, I mean, where does the success lie? I also think it's worth noting when Russell Wilson was in Seattle, who did he have behind him? Toward the latter end of his career in Seattle, he had a Rashad Penny. I mean, he had Marshawn Lynch for what felt like 35 years. And what does Marshawn Lynch do best? He looks at the offensive line and he creates the hole himself. The Broncos have Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. What do they like to do? They like to work off screen passes and checkdowns. So now Russell Wilson's working in a completely different scheme, and he's wondering, hey, I mean, what am I supposed to do if my receivers can't get open? And the best part of my team is the defense. He's used to that in Seattle, but more so in Denver. Denver's defense is one of the best in the NFL, and a lot of times it overshadows the offense. So I think it's just a complete scheme change, and Russell Wilson has to realize if I don't throw for 30 touchdowns in a season, that's fine. But how do I fixate my game around this Denver offense?
You said you don't think he's old. I think he is old. I mean, everybody can't find the fountain of youth, right? Everybody's not Tom Brady. And you look at some of these young quarterbacks and what he's done so far this season. I mean, are you sure he's not just old? We know he got paid.
I mean, hey, I had a little coughing, laughing attack there because I couldn't contain myself while you were saying that. Hey, he's old. He's gotten older. I don't know if I'd claim him as, retirement home ready for NFL players, but I don't know if I'd say that he's old because he just signed a 5-year contract. He's more that he's getting up there in age where his old style of QB play isn't what he can instill in this Denver offense. I think what a lot of Denver Bronco football fans were hoping for was the Seattle Seahawks Russell Wilson, but more explosive, because at the end of his career at Seattle, he had DK Metcalf and then DK Metcalf and then more DK Metcalf. And Denver has a slew of weapons. He just doesn't have the ability anymore, as much as he did in Seattle early on in his career, to get the best out of everyone, because he's dealing with younger guys. I mean, one guy, for example, in Seattle, Tyler Lockett. I know a lot of people remember Lockett because this is a guy that would catch 40, 50-yard passes. Most importantly, that pass against Green Bay and that crazy comeback that had Seattle going to the Super Bowl. Denver doesn't have that. Denver's equivalent to what Tyler Lockett's a KJ Hamler. So, and Hamler, I mean, come on. This guy was playing I think he was playing quarterback for a day. As much as I want to say Russell Wilson is getting old, I think he's just getting older for the style of play that he likes to play. I think he wants to be 25, but he's not. I don't think he's old. He could still be a good quarterback. I wouldn't blame his inability through the first 3 games on him being old.
So when you look at this deal that Denver did, $245 million, what have you, a 5-year deal, and you see some of the issues that they have this early in the season, I wonder if Denver fans, or maybe even the organization, is saying, like, was this a mistake? Did we not think this through? Was this a mistake for Denver? Was this a mistake for Russell Wilson?
Oof, I don't think it was a mistake for Denver, because they went from Drew Lock and find a guy at a gas station and give him a name and throw him in a Denver Broncos uniform to one of the best quarterbacks that's ever seen the football field from a dual threat perspective. I think it was more of a mistake for Russell Wilson, and not because he got paid. Like, hey, he's living lavish out there in Denver in the Mile High, but no, I don't think it was a mistake for Denver because they upgraded, and that's exactly what they needed to do. I think it was a mistake for Russell Wilson because he didn't realize how teams change schematically. He was in Seattle his entire career. He thought, okay, I'm going from a Seattle team that's known for its defense, going to Denver. What's Denver known for? Their defense. Okay, I'm going to a Denver team that has Javonte Williams rather than a Seattle team that is injury-ridden Rashad Penny. So it's a younger and more athletic running back. I'm going to a running back system that is Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. So, hey, I'll have a crowded backfield. This will help out my inability to run as I did 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, and got some young wide receivers. So I just think Russell Wilson kind of missed the bill on when he looked at Denver and said, that's my spot for these reasons. I don't think he took into account, I have to change my game for these reasons.
So where do they go from here? I mean, where does Wilson go from here?
Oof, I mean, Russell Wilson should probably head to a yacht soon with that kind of money. No, but in all seriousness, I think Russell Wilson just has to play more games with this system. I mean, what was there a report in the preseason? None of the Broncos starters played together in a single game. So you enter a season and you think you're the team, right? You're in a really, really packed AFC West. You have to play your best football. I think there's just too much pressure on Russell Wilson right now. He needs to play his game and there's often a phrase, scheme and personnel. Do you match the personnel with the scheme or the scheme to the personnel? I think Russell Wilson needs to bring his scheme that he knows to the personnel that Denver has. And I'm not saying take the LeBron James approach and be the head coach of the team, right? That's Nathaniel Hackett, but Russell Wilson has to be more of a leader. And I don't just mean a vocal leader. I mean, on the field as well, just as a playmaker. And I think he has to bring a little bit of his scheme and change things up. Don't fit to the playbook, fit to your own playbook at times. That's why you're a veteran.
So the onus is on Russell Wilson to adapt in a way that he didn't have to in Seattle. I mean, is this ultimately what we've seen so far, a criticism on him as a quarterback because of all the pieces that you mentioned around him, the circumstance around him, the scheme around him in Seattle? Or is this just growing pains and, like you said, needing a couple of weeks, maybe more than normal in the past with how shortened the preseason feels, to get the scheme right, to get the chemistry right, and ultimately we're going to see the flashes of the quarterback that they paid for?
I think we'll see the flashes soon. Give them a couple weeks. I like that point. But you also have to realize the Broncos don't really have a couple weeks, right? You're playing in the hardest division in all of football. So take that into account. Take that as you will. Give Russell Wilson time. He's a really good quarterback. Now, where I worry is, I mean, we've talked about a lot about fantasy football with Russell Wilson, or at least I have with a lot of people. And even if you don't watch football and you just follow the points, Russell Wilson kind of has a decline toward the end of a lot of fantasy football seasons because he relies so heavily on the pieces around him and less on his legs and his ability. So if you take that and transfer it over to the actual game of football, it's the same thing. Defenses will often play him man to man, and then we'll drop back into zone, and that'll confuse coverage. And as much as Russell Wilson is a smart dude, a lot of the times he can't pinpoint that, and he relies too heavily on everyone else. The pressure comes his way. You bring blitzes. All of a sudden, Russell Wilson's down, and he's not passing for 4 touchdowns per game. So where I worry is, hey, Russ isn't having a good start to the season, and I don't really have confidence he'll have a good end to it. So where does that middle portion go? I say give him time with this system, but in my opinion, I think it takes more than a year. I don't think just give him a couple weeks, give him another year.
Wow. And you think the Denver fan base will have the patience for that kind of agony while they figure it out?
No, not at all. I mean, Denver's fan base going into this season thought, okay, we can contend in a tough AFC West. You get Russell Wilson, all of a sudden, you are a contender. I mean, newsflash, you're not a contender. The Kansas City Chiefs are still the Chiefs. Are the Chargers still coming? I'm not sure. They've struggled to start the season, but they're still on their well way with that defense and the potential of that offense. And Vegas, as much as they haven't won a game this season, Davante Adams is legit. But again, Davante Adams can't be the reason you contend in the AFC West. Russell Wilson can't just be the reason you contend in the AFC West. Where else does that Denver team scratch and claw for wins? I think it's the defensive side, but you still need Russell Wilson toward the end of the season.
Great stuff on QB1 with Cameron Ezeir. Cameron, thanks.
Thank you so much.
Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more QB1.